This is a tutorial and training session for functional range conditioning, PAILs and rails of hip joint abduction. PAILs and rails stands for progressive and regressive angular isometric loading. In the functional range system, we use PAILs and rails to achieve three objectives. The first is to increase range of motion, length of tissue, or space within a joint. The second objective is to gain access and control of our end ranges of motion. And the third and last objective is to improve the health and quality of the connective tissue involved in that joint, ligament, tendon, or muscle. So what is hip abduction or abduction? Simply put, abduction is a linear movement of the hip and leg out away from the midline of the body. Adduction or adduction is the opposite, where our leg travels across the midline of the body. So abduction, outward, adduction, inward. And today we're going to be using abduction for our training. Let's first go over the setup and then we'll move into the training session after that. The setup we're going to use for our PAILs and rails training of hip abduction is done on the floor. The way we're going to get into this position is by going into a bent knee on the side we're not training and a straight leg on the opposite side. So I'm going to bring my leg out to the side like this, such that my toes are pointed straight to the front of the room this way, and the side of my foot is flat upon the ground. Now, to get into this stretch, we're going to be stretching all the muscles on the midline of the thigh here. Those are called our adductor muscles. And to stretch this further, I can either try to slide this leg further out towards the wall, or I can drive the line of my hip where my pocket is down to the floor this way, kind of loading with the arm and pushing down into this direction to get into that stretch. When we do our PAILs contractions, our progressive angular isometric loading, we're going to be contracting the muscles that we're stretching here. So in this case, I'm going to be driving my leg down onto the floor this way, almost like I'm trying to pull the ground in this direction, contracting again these adductor muscles. When we do our rails, our regressive angular isometrics, we're going to take the hand and block it on the ground, and we're going to attempt to lift the side of the leg up off the floor, contracting the muscles on the side of the hip, our tensor fasciae lata muscle here and some of those outer hip tissues. Now, it's not likely to actually lift up off the ground, but I'd like you to make an attempt to lift it up away from the floor when you do your rails, your regressive isometric. So in any PAILs and rails session, we're going to start with a 60-second stretch at minimum, but if you have a minute and a half to 2 minutes, go longer. So again, as I'm stretching, I'm going to take some deep breaths. I want to increase that stretch. Again, I'm thinking drive this line of my hip down towards the floor, or try to glide my foot out that way further. This can be a little bit of an intense stretch for the midline of the thigh. That's okay. Deep breaths will help to work through that. Let's go about another 20, 30 seconds here. We'll start to apply our PAILs and rails. When you do your PAILs and rails contractions, I'd like you to use anywhere from 20 to 80% effort or intensity. So if you're new to this type of training, start on the lower scale of effort and intensity and work your way up as you go through your reps. After each PAILs and rails, we're going to attempt to stretch a little deeper. So let's move into our first PAILs and rails. Let's take a deep breath in. Hold your core tight and start to drive the leg down onto the floor. Contract those inner thigh muscles like you're trying to pull the floor this way. Squeeze for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails, try to lift the leg up off the ground. Squeeze the side hip tissues for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deepen the stretch if you can. Deep breath in. Again, trap some core tension, apply your PAILs, drive the medial line of the leg down to the floor. Don't let your knee cave there. Keep squeezing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails, try to lift that leg up off the floor for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deepen the stretch if you can. Deep breath in. Hold your core tight. Contract into your PAILs. Your progressive angular isometric load. Keep driving the leg down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails, trying to lift that leg up off the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You might be close to your end range, but if you can stretch deeper, go for it. Deep breath in. Core tight and locked in. Apply your PAILs. Drive the leg down. Keep contracting that inner thigh tissue all the way from the midline of the knee to the groin for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails, try to lift that leg up off the ground like you're trying to pick it up. 3, 2, 1. Last PAILs and rails. Deep breath in. Core tight. Drive the leg down. Good. Squeeze hard for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rails. Try to lift the leg up off the ground for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Come out of that position. So that's PAILs and rails training for single leg abduction. However, there's another way of doing this for both legs at the same time in what's called a frog leg or a butterfly position. And there's a separate video for that. So if this is your first time training PAILs and rails, hip joint abduction, I would expect perhaps it will make you a little bit sore. That's not unusual for training joints, tissues, tendons, muscles at end ranges of motion. So if they've never been to these positions, it is all very new for these tissues. So if it does make you a little bit sore, don't be put off by that. It is well worth the benefits that we get from training PAILs and rails of those tissues. So that's your tutorial and training session for single leg hip joint abduction, PAILs and rails.